All right, well, hello everyone, and welcome to Senior College Night. If you are a high school senior or maybe you're a high school junior who really wants to get ahead of the game, and you want to learn a bit more about what the college application process looks like, what are the essential pieces of your application, tips and tricks for your Common App, that sort of thing, what is it for student early action or early decision, then you are definitely in the right place. My name is Marielle Starrett. I am an education and career specialist here at Granite Advance. And because you are joining us digitally tonight, or today, or tomorrow, this morning, whatever time it may be, because I know we are recording tonight's session. So don't worry, that recording doesn't have anybody's face in it. Just has my face in it. So got to make sure that I'm smiling properly so that we can get this out on YouTube for everybody to see. But because you are joining us digitally, we typically like to hand out what we call our insider guides. Our insider guides are like magazines full of really great information on college, on different pieces of the puzzle. And today we have one that's relevant to you called our College Admissions Insider. If you like to read things digitally, feel free to scan that QR code. It brings you to the digital copy of that. You can also check out our resource library on our website to see other things like our early college and career planning insider, our financial aid insider, accessibility, athletics, and coming soon a workforce insider that we're all very excited about, as well as some Spanish copies of some of our insider guides as well. And for those of us who don't know who we are, Granite Advance is a 501c3 nonprofit here in New Hampshire, and our entire goal is helping students find their direction and fund their future. So figuring out what comes after high school, how do you get there, how do you apply for it, and how do you pay for it? So that can be anything and everything that a student could possibly need. And we don't have an age cap. So we will work with adult learners, we'll work with folks who are transitioning into retirement and want some tips and tricks on how to best use their time, as well as some younger students. We have resources and curriculum for them as well. One of the ways that we help folks, other than presentations like these, recorded content, our Instagram, our website that has that resource library, we also help one-on-one appointments. So if you have a specific question that you'd like to ask us, or you'd want to sit down and you talk to an expert on our team about anything from filing your FAFSA to exploring what career options might be available to you, we are happy to do that. So some of our appointments include that career and aptitude exploration. We use this really cool tool called U-Science. Exploring future options is our catch-all. Anything and everything that you want to talk about related to your future, we're happy to. Financial aid planning. If you want to get a lay of the land about what the FAFSA is, what the CSS is, what's the difference between merit aid and need-based aid and institutional aid versus federal and all of those wonderful things, also happy to walk you through that process. If you need to file your FAFSA, we can file your first FAFSA or your fourth FAFSA or your 100th FAFSA with you too. We have those filing appointments. We do not at this time assist with the CSS profile in an appointment setting, but we do facilitate. We have other webinars like this one on the CSS, as well as some great material again in that resource library. Once you're a little later in the process and you have those acceptance letters and then financial aid award letters from schools, we have an appointment type where we'll sit down with you and help you compare those apples to apples. And then the next step after that, maybe you are transitioning into college and you want to learn more about things like FERPA and what you have to do over the summer. Or maybe you are transferring from school to school mid-year, or you want to transfer at the end of the year, or you're having a little trouble adjusting, or anything else, you need some resources on your college journey. We have that college success appointment where we can talk to you anything about college once you're already in college. So let's get down into what we're here for tonight. So for senior college night, the first step in this process for applicants for the fall is to finalize that college list. And when we talk about the college list, we want to focus on adding and infusing balance into that list. A couple good ways to do that. Keep in mind the average number of applications that a student might be submitting in a given cycle is 6 to 10. So 6 is the lower end of that scale. It leaves possibility for doors to be open. And I always say preserving those options, where 10 is a nice higher number that's like, okay, like I feel like I've really preserved my options. I've put in work, but I understand that it does take a lot of work to apply to college. and I want to have some balance to have pursuit of other passions, hobbies, sports, whatever it may be that you're working on your senior year, maintaining your grades. And you can say, okay, like college is going to be a part of my life, but it's not going to be all of my life. Some students apply to more than these. Some students only apply to one or two schools, but we don't recommend that. It's your process. So whatever is best for you. The whole name of the game is just making sure that you have those options open come next winter, spring, when you're trying to make that decision before May 1st. So how do you balance your list and make sure that your list is a good one or a strong one? I always like to joke that if you don't have two, it's not for you. So if you can't think of two specific reasons why you would want to go to a college, then that's probably not the college for you because your dream school, although you might have multiple schools that are an absolutely wonderful fit for you, you will have lots of reasons that you want to go there. For me, by the time I graduated, I could probably list, I don't know, 700 reasons that I loved my school and maybe a few that I didn't love about the school too, but I had good concrete reasons as to why I enjoyed that place and why I stayed there. The other thing to start thinking about with your schools, and this is a great conversation to have with your school counselor or using some of the digital resources that are available to you with Google. The US News World Report has some interesting stuff, or if you have tools like Zello or Naviance at your disposal, is to look at the likelihood of admission for you. You might even be able to look at a school's statistics from their last admitted class. You can Google that through their admissions statistics, or the Common Data Set has information on that as well, where you can look at your academic merit. So things like your GPA, maybe you've taken your SAT, so you know your SAT scores. Maybe you have a few AP courses under your belt, things like that. And you can see, how will I fit into this school academically? Do I think that based on academics, I have a good shot of admission at this school? So making sure that you have schools balanced on your list so that you can think to yourself, like, okay, I have some good shots into getting into some of these schools that I really love and care about. Another really great way to balance that list is to apply to a variety of different school types. So easiest one to think about for this is in-state versus out-of-state. There's lots of really amazing colleges in New Hampshire. We've even got an Ivy. We have great schools from things like Manchester Community College or St. A's or Southern New Hampshire University, all just in Manchester. So thinking in just one city, there's already 3 options. But there's also really great schools in Maine and Mass and California and Florida or wherever else the wind takes you. Maybe they have a program that you want to study, or maybe you want to study marine biology in a place like Florida where there's water on each side of the state, and when you're swimming with the dolphins, it's going to be a little bit warmer. The reason that we say to balance in-state and out-of-state is based on things like state programs. Here in New Hampshire, we have something called the Granite Guarantee, which if the student is Pell eligible, they may be eligible for their tuition to be covered by the state, and that can be game-changing. So the biggest piece of their financial aid package, which is tuition, so they would have to pay the largest cost would be tuition, could be covered by the state of New Hampshire if they are a Pell eligible student attending UNH, Plymouth State, or Keene State College. So it's only the 3 public universities, but I always encourage students to apply to at least one of those, or you don't know what might happen in a year. Maybe the Rocky Mountains are calling to you, but your car breaks down and you want to stay close to home. Knock on wood, that doesn't happen to you. But it's nice to kind of make sure that you've got some options. So apply to at least one school that's kind of close to here, or maybe you apply to one that's a little farther out. Next consideration is public versus private schools. Real big ticket here is that they offer their aid differently. So they might offer and manage their endowments differently. They might handle merit scholarships differently, and they might have different legislation around how they can disperse those funds. And year over year, these things change. So making sure that you have some different options there. You can also widen your horizons to different campus sizes, things like that. So maybe right now you really love in college or high school that you know every single person's name, or you really love the fact that you don't know everybody's person's name and you can kind of blend back into the background. Or maybe you want the opposite of that in college. So start thinking about those types of things. And then looking at 2-year schools and 4-year schools, there's some really awesome 2-year programs, both within the state of New Hampshire and elsewhere. I can set you up for success. And if you are set on a 4-year school, some of those 2-year programs are a great way to kind of dip your toe in the water and save some money when you are looking at maybe transferring to a four-year school. So if you haven't started looking at schools already, or you're looking at your list of 2 schools and thinking, okay, I want to preserve some more options and open a few more doors, a really great way for students to explore adding schools to their list or starting to research schools to kind of think of those specific reasons they might want to apply there is by using college search engines and your school's platform. So sometimes if you use something like Naviance, Zello, Score, School Links, any of those things, they might have built-in search engines, or you can meet with your school counselor to discuss different school options for you, and they might have some great ideas. Or you can use Big Future or Peterson's. They're huge catalogs of colleges in the US. There's over 3,000 colleges in the US. This will help you narrow down which are the ones that you like. So maybe you know what you want to study, or maybe you know how far or close to home you want to be. You can filter by those things and kind of have a launching pad for looking and building into that college list. Another consideration. We've talked about how there's so many schools in the US, right? Over 3,000. There's this idea that there's this perfect fit dream school for you. That's a lot of schools. There's a good chance that many schools are going to be a good fit for you. So how do you figure out narrowing down that giant pool and focusing on something that you are going to want to invest your time, money, and energy into and stay there for the next few years? Best way to do this is to focus on the fit of the school, and that's not entirely its brand or the fact that you toured it once and absolutely fell in love. So some other things you can do to kind of expand your mentality about that is thinking of academic, social, and financial fit. So these are 3 different aspects in the Venn diagram that make a good fit school. When you think about academic fit, do they have the major that you want to study? Do they have classes that you'll be able to engage in? Are you a hands-on learner, or are you an auditory learner who would thrive in a lecture hall? What type of professors are teaching classes there? Are they professors that have been in the industry for 50 years, or are they really academic professors who have been doing research in the field or doing research in a lab for the last 15 years? What types of research opportunities have presented themselves? So maybe you're a STEM major. Can you research with a professor? Can you be a TA? Can you do your own independent research or independent study? If you want to pursue an internship, what opportunities are available to you with things like their alumni network, their career center, thinking about connections like that? If you're able to have an internship, can you take that for credit as a class? Are you allowed to be paid on your internship, or are you doing it the old-fashioned style where you're doing work for free and you're gaining experience through that? Other considerations for students on the academic front. So thinking of what we talked a little bit about, that career center. What other services are available to the students, especially for students who maybe had a 504 or an IEP while they were in college? It's important to think about what academic services are available at the institution. Something that was super helpful for me was the Writing Center. So I actually was just spending time with an old friend from college recently who was in the Writing Center, and he was an absolute asset to me because when I wrote my first college paper, I had never gotten less than an A on a paper in high school, and I came back with a C. And I was shocked and dumbfounded, and I had no idea what had happened. But I took it to the Writing Center, and they were able to tell me, because they had taken that class with that professor previously, that it was because of the way my citations looked. This professor's a stickler for this type of thing, or you have to dig a little deeper, or you have to approach it from this way. And those students are able to kind of help hold your hand through that process and get you through. Another really great academic service. Do they have tutoring? Is it free? Do they have study groups? Is it TAs that are leading classes and study groups, or is it the professor? Who's doing the grading? What types of resources are available for you? Calculus 1 can be really tricky for some students. Is there a group of students that you can do your homework with? Is that allowed? Is it coordinated through the school? Do they have resources online versus in person? Any sorts of those types of things. And then the social aspect. I find when students are thinking about the college search in the social aspect, they either think too much about the social aspect or not at all about the social aspect. We want a nice balance of this, right? You're gonna live there for a few years, or if you're commuting, that's important. Is there a good commuter community? Or if you're living on campus, who are you living with? What are you talking about? What are you doing on weekends? What are you doing outside of class? College, your schedule is a bit more flexible than it is in high school. You typically can choose your course schedule and you can choose when you have classes. I know some schools that don't have classes on Fridays, so you have a 3-day weekend every weekend, or I know students who love to have most of their classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that way they can have lighter days the rest of the week, or vice versa, or some students have really late night labs versus some schools have labs earlier in the day, so they have a bit more flexibility. So think about the things that you do now. And it's a good activity to start reflecting on the last 4 years. What are the things that you've done outside of the classroom? Are you a member of any clubs? Have you been in the theater troupe or on the athletic field for the last 4 years? Do you like to volunteer? Do you like to, on weekends, go and get coffee? Or do you like to tuck down and do homework in a calm, cozy environment? Do you want to host movie nights with your friends? Do you love going to the beach? What are the things that make you you that you enjoy about your life? Because those things aren't going to stop in college. And then you can choose what level of interaction you want to have with the activities in your life. If you really, really love something and you want to spend a lot of time on it, make sure that they have it and that you have the time to invest in it. It's especially true for things like athletics when you can look at the divisional split. So if you want to go D1 because you've been playing soccer since you can remember, and you're really good at soccer and you could really use that athletic scholarship and you're willing to commit the time and energy it takes to play Division 1 soccer, then that's a great consideration. Or maybe you've played soccer for a really long time and you absolutely love it, but you want to be able to balance a little bit more of the school life and then your soccer team. Maybe you go D3, or maybe you just really love playing soccer with your friends and that's something you want to continue, but you really do want to focus. Maybe you have a harder major or you need to figure out the adjustment to college, or you're saying, I really want to diversify my time a little bit. I want to spend time volunteering and I want to be able to go to movie nights and school dances or whatever else is available to me. And you maybe play club or rec soccer or intramural or any of those types of things. So college kind of gives you that ability to pick your level of involvement, which is really cool. Next bullet here is Greek life. When I say Greek life, your brain immediately thought of something. Think about what that thing was. If you got excited, if you got nervous, if you didn't care at all, those are things that are worth thinking of, because not every school has Greek life and not every school is active with Greek life in the same capacity. So same thing as athletics. And then thinking about things like campus events, what traditions are held true? Every year, do they go and take a day off and they hike a mountain? Or do they have really great tailgates and homecoming? Or does your school have a giant water balloon fight every single year on the quad? What are the types of things that when you're an alumni, you're looking back and you're going, oh my gosh, that was the best. Like I really miss every year we would do XYZ. What is that thing? Ask your tour guide. It's a really great question for them. Or an admissions counselor. I'm sure they would be stoked to tell you that. And then think of that location. How many cute little coffee shops are nearby? It's not a huge question, but it's enough of a question. Is there a coffee shop on campus? Do you have access to public transport? Can you bring your car as a first year on campus? How much does it cost you to have your car as a first year on campus? Are you in a city where you have access to lots and lots of internships? So you type in LinkedIn business internship and you get 3,000 results? Or are you in a place that has maybe a few options, especially true for students who are thinking of things in the medical field, whether they'll use clinical rotations, what hospitals are around you, or if you have, maybe you're a theater major. Think about going to a school that's off Broadway versus a school that's up in New London like Colby Sawyer. Colby Sawyer, you would be the star, I can assure you that, but how many people are going to be in the audience? So think about, again, that level of involvement that you want to have and the interactions and experiences that you want out of college. And then, of course, there's that financial piece. To me, the financial piece is something that you kind of have to consider, right? You don't want to fall in love with a school that you can't afford. That would be the absolute worst. So start considering things like, does the school offer merit scholarships or need-based scholarships? And if they offer these, would I qualify for them? So based on the thresholds, are my grades the type that I would be getting the highest merit scholarship, the lowest merit scholarship, nothing at all, somewhere in between? Or for need-based aid, what's their income threshold? Is there a conversation that I can have with financial aid? If I am offered a work study position, am I going to have the time in my schedule as well as the positions available to me that aren't super competitive so that I can have a job while I'm on campus? Do I want a job on campus? Do I want a job off of campus? how much is this degree going to cost me and how much am I going to get out of this degree? So start thinking about things like your return on investment. It can be really scary to look at things like college and say, oh my gosh, that's going to cost me so much money. So it's important to think about financial aid is a huge piece of the puzzle for a lot of schools. And you can examine a school's financial aid and what you might be paying through using their net price calculator. So net price calculators are legally mandated to be on every single school's website, but they are not created equal. I'll tell you that much. And they will help you determine the difference between the sticker price and the net price. The sticker price is when I Google Stanford University cost of attendance, I'm going to get a huge number, right? And I look at that and I go, times 4, I can't do that. Your net price is taking that sticker price and minusing out all the financial aid that you may be eligible for. That comes in a couple of different forms. Financial aid comes, the way I like to think of it, as institutional, federal, and private. So net price calculators will be able to help you figure out what the institutional aid available to you is. So if you're qualified for any need-based aid or scholarships from the school itself, what amount is that and how much does that take off of that cost of attendance? Federal aid, if you want to learn more about that, feel free to come talk to us. And private aid comes down a little bit later in the process. So you'll learn more about scholarships. And then if you need to take out loans, we can have that conversation as well. But for now, use your resources. So use those net price calculators, understanding that they're an estimate, things are going to change. You're not going to know your real numbers until you get that financial aid offer award next spring. Our website also has some really awesome resources, including a college financing calculator that'll do things like help kind of put on a gas gauge that return on investment number, as well as calculating if you do need to take out federal student loans, what amount, what is that going to look like compared to your salary as a new grad, based on percentage or amount. So that can be really helpful, especially if you're considering having that financial conversation of learning about budgets and thinking about what type of lifestyle do I want to live. And student loan calculators as well, right? It can feel really daunting to take out student loans, or it can feel really easy to take out student loans. Student loan calculators, we have one on our website, can be a good way to start putting a little bit of more of a pause in that process and a deep breath to learn more about some of your options. Next thing you want to do is get to know those colleges, connect with them, and do something we like to call demonstrate interest. So demonstrated interest is sometimes tracked by schools as part of admission. It's essentially recording any and every time that you have an interaction with the school. And we live in a digital age, so that's pretty easy these days. But my favorite way to do this is to connect directly with those admissions reps. So you're going to find college admissions reps. They operate in territories typically. So if they ever come to your school or at a college fair and you're in New Hampshire, there's a good chance that they're the ones reading your application for admission at their specific school. I actually became very close with my admissions rep when I got into college, and I found out long after that it's part of that relationship that got me into the school that I ended up going to. So you might be able to find them at college fairs, big bustling events with lots and lots of schools that you can compare very quickly, very easily. If you want to learn more about college fairs, preparing for them, check back on our website. On our upcoming events date, we do have a short mini webinar just on college fairs coming up. Admissions reps will also come to visit your high school. So check with your school counselor to see, hey, I'm really interested in this specific school. Do you know if the admissions rep is going to come and visit at any point? I would love to maybe get a pass out of class and come talk to this person. And if they're not, reach out, send them an email, give them a phone call, see if they're going to be at a college fair near you, and ask a specific question, introduce yourself. I always say strong handshake goes farther than you think it will. Or you can get on campus, go visit campus. You can do that in a lot of different forms. You can do it on a formal tour, a virtual tour, a self-guided tour. I really like info sessions and tours. So when you go to campus and you've scheduled your tour ahead of time on their website, you sit down with an admissions rep for 30, 45 minutes. They give you a little presentation on the school, and then you get sent out typically with a student. Again, really awesome opportunity to talk to the student about what their experience has been like so far and be learning about the school and looking around, seeing the things on the walls, seeing the expressions on the students' faces, trying the food. Is this a place that you could call home for the next few years? Or if bigger events are your type of thing, or maybe you've got a lot of schools you want to check out, and you want to go when there's more resources available to you, labs are open, you can see different rooms, things like that. Maybe you can see more dorms than just the one that they have set up. Attend an open house or an admitted students day, or maybe who were invited to their honors program, they have big admissions events for those types of things. For one-on-one might be a little bit more your style. You might be able to sit in on a class, especially if you have a class that you want to see or you have a major or field of interest going, or especially if you're pursuing athletics, you might be able to stay overnight. More common on days with either athletic teams. So if you're being recruited by a school, you might have more access to this. Or if you are looking at one of those bigger admitted students days, you might be able to stay overnight with a student. You sleep in their dorm, you hang out with their friends, you see what they're doing on a Friday or Saturday, and you get a more authentic look at the school. And you want to try to do this from your couch. There's always online engagement. Everything is tracked these days, from cookies to cash and everywhere in between. It's not just Cookie Monster becoming a millionaire these days. Cookies and Cash do a lot more than that. So they can track things like social media. So if you are liking, following, commenting, interacting on pages, and this is a two-way street, right? If you follow social media pages for the school, there's a good chance that almost every single club, organization, student body organization has their own page. So start with the main campus page, right? XYZ College Instagram page. Okay, cool. Are they posting student takeovers on their stories? Are they posting upcoming events? Check out the other pages that they're linking, which pages are following them or they're following. Are the students showing different aspects of campus life that are interesting to you? Take some time, dig deep on that website. So more than just that first page, I always say the first page is really helpful to see what a college thinks their strong suit is and what they want to market and push forth and what they're proud of. It's a really great way to see that through their first page, but spend some time on things like their course catalog, that financial aid page, residence life, all sorts of those types of things. And then if you get an email from a school that you care about, click on it, scroll, pay attention, click on some of those links. And if you get a school that you don't care about, after you spent 30 seconds reading the email, scroll down to the bottom and hit unsubscribe. It'll save you a lot of time and energy. All right. So you've thought about your list, you've built your list, you've rounded out your list, you've got to know these colleges, you've got 3 to 15 reasons why you're applying to every single school on your list. So how do you actually do that? First step to applying to college is to choose how you're going to apply. By now, hopefully you've heard of what the Common App is. It opened August 1st of this year. Common App, it just saves you some time, right? You can put in all your demographic information, the classes you're taking your senior year, your activities list, your essay, your SAT scores, all in one section. And then you add all the schools that you want to apply to. And then you put in some school specific information, like, do you want to live on campus? Are you going to apply for financial aid? Maybe they have some supplemental essay questions. You fill all that out, and then you can send off those applications. Coalition app is very similar. I like to think of them like Zoom and Skype, right? One out, right? They're both really great tools. Coalition can be helpful for students who are looking for specific criteria and considerations, as they do have some kind of checkboxes that they have to hit, they being the colleges, to be a part of the Coalition app. Or your school might have a school-specific application posted on their website. So CCSNH only has a school-specific application. They are not on the Common App or the Coalition app. You have to apply to any of the community colleges through CCSNH. You will have to submit. So if I want to apply to River Valley and Lakes region, I need to send in 2 different applications through the same application. So you can kind of copy paste those answers from a Google Doc is something that I like to say. Or if you like Plymouth State, they actually are on the Common App and have their own specific application they call the Panther app on their website. Benefit to that, you may have a fee waiver associated, or you can apply on the Common App. It pulls in the same data in the same way. So some students have this idea that if I apply on the specific website, it's a really great way to demonstrate interest. In reality, admissions is seeing those files just about the same. Then you decide when you're going to apply. So these 2 are the early bird options, early decision and early action. why it matters. So both of these will look at your grades through junior year. They're not looking at your senior year grades yet at time of admission. They have those earlier deadlines. Sometimes they're in October, sometimes they're in November. You might be hearing back before the holidays in December, which is nice. So you kind of get that peace of mind, but making sure that you have a strong application. So your activities list, your essay, everything is ready for what you want it to be. You've asked your teachers for rec letters. You know that they have good ones ready to go. All of that, ducks are in a row. Early decision is different than early action because early decision is a binding contract stating that if you get into that institution, you are going to that school, is essentially what you are signing. It is contract signed by yourself, your parent, and your school counselor. So take some real consideration if you are applying to school as ED, using things like your net price calculator, having conversations with financial aid, because you won't have the luxury of kind of comparing those financial aid offers if you get into the school that you applied to ED. Early action is a non-binding contract, but the perk to both of these as kind of a reward for your extra hard work and getting ready ahead of time is that they may have a higher admissions rate. And that's something that you can typically find as published information, at least through that common data set, if not in other places. Then there's regular decision. Regular decision is the most common type of application cycle. It still has a hard deadline, but their deadlines are typically a little bit later, thinking of January through March even. For schools, you apply and you hope you get in, and they're going to look at your application in a pool of others. Thousands of applications are sent in through regular decision, and you can kind of mix and match. Maybe you apply to one school, ED, maybe you apply to 3 schools, early action, and then you apply to the rest of your school's regular decision. Or you might have rolling admission. Rolling admission is schools that don't have a hard deadline. Technically, the deadline is when classes start. So you can apply to that school at any time, and then you can be admitted as a first come, first serve basis. They're looking at your applications as it comes in. If you are applying to a more competitive program, so thinking of things like architecture, engineering, nursing, any of those programs that might have seat limits, make sure you get that application in nice and early, because even if you're the next Einstein in the nursing world, if their program is full, then they don't have a seat to give you and they can admit you into the college at large, but you would not be getting into the nursing program. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then direct admission is something that we're seeing a little bit more of. There's nothing that you can really do to control this. This is if your stats are posted in a system like Common App. Some schools might look at your merit stats, so your GPA, the classes that you took, and said, oh, this person might be a really great candidate, and they will offer you conditional admission to their school as a way of enticing you if you can kind of back up what you say through those stats. So what does it take to apply to college? Your college application will include, it may include, it may not include, but typically we see your transcript, your college essay or personal statement, your activities list, letters of recommendation from either school counselor or teachers or somebody else in your life, and those test scores ranging from IB, AP, SAT, all of the acronyms. Transcript is one of the things that schools are going to look at first and foremost to see if you have good academic fit for the school. So they're looking at things like your GPA, your class rank if it's available, your grades from 9th to 11th grade, and they might be checking in senior year, mid-year, especially if you're applying regular decision or later in the spring. They might be looking at your fall semester senior grades. They will be typically asking for a official high school transcript, so you can't just self-report your scores and call it good, because I would be putting an A+++ on every single one of my super amazing, incredible classes and whatever that acronym now it stands for, because I would say that I took every single class at that level. They are going to look at that official transcript. They typically are also looking at what we call a school profile that is sent at the same time, which kind of puts you into the context of your school. So maybe you took 2 AP classes and your school offered 20, or maybe you took 2 AP classes and your school offered 2. Those are 2 different stories, right? That's part of your school profile. It'll show things like the demographics of your school and what resources were available to you and what class structure looked like and how do you calculate your GPA? Because sometimes we see transcripts and go, what? How does that, huh? Because not every school, although they are uniform, has the same kind of transcript, right? They're not actually uniform. They're official documents, but there's no perfect script, even though it's a transcript. So making sure that you check with school counseling to figure out how your transcript is sent and if there's anything that you need to do to make sure that your transcript gets sent to the schools that you're applying to. Then your college essay. There's a lot of questions about the college essay. It can be really intimidating for students. If you've got lots of questions about the college essay, you want to get started, you want to get feedback, feel free. We have college essay workshops where we sit down with students and we bring in admissions reps and we talk about the college essay and we brainstorm and we go over tips and tricks. And then we have follow-up appointments to that where we will read and review and help you go through your college essay to figure out what are the things that are really great about it, what are the things that you can maybe improve based on your timeline that you have. But when you boil it down, your college essay is your handshake. It's you telling your story in 450 to 650 words. It should be authentic. It should be true to you. It should really grab my attention and keep me with you. It should just reflect your voice, values, experience. Who are you, right? What do you care about? What gets you up in the morning? What's a really great story that you want to tell me about you? Do that. That's what your college essay is. It shouldn't be forced and trying to meet the idea of what you think a Keene State owl is, right? You're saying, oh my gosh, I wake up in the morning and I put on my red socks and I put on my beak and my wings and I go and I look at a pumpkin patch all day. That's not very authentic, unless that is. And then maybe Keene State is the school for you at that point. But tell your story and tell it in your words, right? You don't have to be using words like boisterous if it's not normal for you to use boisterous. Maybe avoid using things like acronyms or any kind of text slang, stuff like that. But make sure it's authentic, right? And share the idea that aligns with who you are. You don't have to conform to somebody else. And just tell your story, but show it that you have critical thinking and you've put some time, effort, and energy into this, especially making sure that you do at least one round of final edits before you submit, although you should probably have several drafts at this point. Next up is those extracurricular activities. Common App allows you 10 spots for extracurricular activities, and they give you 150 characters per activity to describe what you did there, right? So some students will say, I played soccer. I went to soccer practice. Okay, great. Were you the team hype man? Were you the varsity captain? Were you the strategist? Were you the one making sure that everybody's water bottle was filled and that they had proper nutrition ahead of time? So swapping out those Rice Krispie treats for protein bars or apple slices or whatever else it may be. Tell me who you are. What impact did you make on the environment that you were a part of? And why was that something that you chose to spend your time doing? This isn't just things like soccer practice. This can be if you have an after-school job, if you were part of a club, if you have a hobby that you really care about, or you did an internship, job shadows, personal research into something, you took care of your siblings or an elder member of your family. This is showcasing who you are outside of the classroom. It's so much more than just soccer practice. And even if it is soccer practice, that clearly was important to you. Show me why, show me how. Use that space wisely and really take your time and energy there. I know it can be exhausting. You probably spent a lot of time on your essay, but don't fizzle out on the other pieces of your application. Letters of recommendation. Hopefully you have started asking folks for these by now. Make sure you ask early, so giving folks long enough to put together an essay that really showcases the amazing person that we all know you are. Make sure you ask in person. It's a kind thing to do. You can always follow up with an email. You can follow up with a brag sheet or something, maybe a story that you have from class that you would really love if they showcased, or maybe you know, hey, these parts of my values are really apparent in this aspect of my application, and I would love if you would showcase something like my intellectual curiosity based on how I did that extra research project. Or remember when you gave me the word count of 400 words and I gave you 3,000 because I got really into that one thing? Feel free to do that and kind of bolster them up. So these can be anything from school counselor letters, typically put you in the context of your school, teacher letters in the context of your classroom, but maybe you have a mentor, a coach, an employer, somebody in the clergy that you know that you've built a really strong relationship with, and they can say who you are really well in an environment that you've impacted. Feel free to ask those folks, especially if you aren't considering going to a four-year college, or maybe you're looking at a two-year school, or you're looking at a program, an apprenticeship, a trade, something like that, and you're going to need recommendation letters for job opportunities later or an early internship, something like that. Doesn't hurt to ask now while they're close by. Never hurts to get more rec letters, and at the very least, you get a little bit of a confidence boost if you're not ever submitting those anywhere, or at least building that relationship and trust with that person. And then it's a lot of work to write a letter of rec. So make sure you say thank you. Good old-fashioned thank you note goes really far. We've got a bulletin board of those on our wall across from our water cooler in our office, and it really helps keep folks going, especially when they've put in the time and energy to invest in you. Then there's test scores. Test scores are scary, or they can be scary. Different schools approach them in different ways. So you'll see different types of admission for schools. Test optional. We're just going to run through some definitions. Test optional is up to you. You can choose if you would like to submit your scores or not. Again, using the information available to you to see, am I at or above 50% of their score range? Does this improve my chances of admission at all? Test blind, even if you got that 1604 and you broke the scale, they're not going to consider your test scores for admission, but they might be looking at that for financial aid for any of these. So making sure that you do put your time and energy into testing well, just in case. So you might need those for merit scholarships. They're test flexible. So maybe you took an SAT and ACT, you did international baccalaureate or advanced placement courses. Some schools will consider those as part of your admission. Some schools will not. Some schools will think of those things as transfer credits, or you can kind of pass some of those gen eds, things like that. Talk to your admissions counselor, get some more information on that. So then consider you're submitting your scores if you're at or above that 50% mark that we talked about. So it'll only strengthen your application. If your scores weaken your application and it's test optional, don't send your scores. Make sure that if you are sending your scores to some schools and not to other schools, and you're using something like Common App or Coalition App, they're being very careful onto what scores are being sent where, and making sure that you're double checking any of those things. Some schools, major specific or program specific, they might be looking for your SAT scores, even if they're test blind for other programs. So what happens next? I know I've thrown a ton of information at you tonight, and I thank you for paying attention. I know it's been a long one, or if you're watching the recording of this later, maybe you've taken a few drinks of water or taken a break, or maybe you're on night 2 of watching this, who knows? But we're near the end. So what happens next? Students, this is your process. It's your time to shine. You've worked really hard. You spent the last 16, 17, 18 years figuring out kind of who you are and how you contribute to the world around you. And you probably know a few things about yourself now. Use that to propel you through your college application process. There's a lot of people who care about you in this process, and they're going to be rooting for you and cheering for you, and it can feel overwhelming, but they're here to build you up. And the best way they can do that is if you're communicating effectively with them. So you're the point of contact for admissions, financial aid, your parents, your school counselors, or teachers, making sure that you are communicating with them. You are staying organized, and you know what organizational system fits best with you, and you can share that with other people. Great time to look over your social media, check out your digital footprint. Is it aligning with the impression that you're trying to make through your college application? If not, spend some time cleaning it up. Another great way to look at your digital footprint, if you don't already have a professional email account, so first name to last name at Yahoo, Gmail, AOL, whatever it may be, now's a great time to set them up, because it helps admissions readers link you to who you are and your account. And although we love your school email, and hopefully you've been spending a lot of time in it recently, when you graduate, that email address will no longer be yours and you'll lose access to it. And since college comes after high school graduation, typically, you want to make sure that your contacts can contact you, or colleges can contact you using your email address afterwards. Make sure you're checking in with the people who care about you, right? It's an overwhelming process. Maybe you isolate the college talk to Thursday nights and you spend an hour and a half on it, or Saturday mornings or Saturday evenings, or you say, I'm going to spend one Saturday a month touring schools, or every time I pass a college sign on the highway and it's a college I've never heard of, I'm going to spend 15 minutes on their website, or we're going to pull over and spend 20 minutes walking around campus and seeing if we can talk to somebody about it. Whatever it is to keep you motivated, organized, and supported, create that plan, right? This is your time to shine. It's your time to be invested in and invest in the world around you and really prepare yourself for those next steps. So start taking them as you can. After all that, because it's now easy breezy and we've done it, what happens this winter is you continue submitting those applications, especially those regular decision applications. You'll be looking at your email, maybe your brand new email or your school's profile portal or student information system. So making sure that you're getting updates from all those schools, you're checking for those admissions letters. If you applied to some of those earlier applications, you might have to send your fall semester grades to schools, so be on the lookout for that, and then check in with counseling on how to. You can apply to scholarships. I always say once you're done applying to schools and financial aid, your full-time job becomes applying to scholarship, because there's nothing better than free money when it comes to paying for college. And then also take some time to rest and recharge over the winter, right? You have a little bit of a natural gap or a natural lull. Maybe you have some time off from school. Take a few days and just say, hey, I'm really passionate about this thing and I haven't spent a lot of time on it, or I really just want to spend some time with my friends before we graduate. Make sure you're taking care of yourself and you're doing those things too. And then in the spring, review those admissions decisions, review those financial aid award letters, and start comparing those schools. Attend accepted students days. Your job in the spring is to kind of start evaluating the schools that you've been accepted into and kind of paring down that list so that come May 1st, you can commit to the school that you're going to spend the next year at least at, and get really excited for that. And you can start shopping at Target to pick out your shower caddy. There's a big debate between hard shower caddies and cloth shower caddies. I've had both. I honestly have no opinion on it, but making sure that you're preparing for this next phase of life and just continuing to enjoy the one you have. Also continuing to apply to those scholarships, especially the Granted Advanced Scholarship. Can't recommend it enough. Speaking of financial aid, one last thing I will part with you is, as you are applying to schools, make sure that you are checking what financial aid forms are required by the schools, as well as when their deadline is. At this point, both the CSS profile and FAFSA have already opened for the 26-27 year. So make sure that if you have time to sit down and start going through those, only apply to CSF schools that you know that you are actually applying to, because it does have a fee associated with it. FAFSA, you can put 20 schools on your first round, and if you're applying to 50 schools, then you could submit your FAFSA a little over 2 times to make sure that you have all the schools sent the information that you were looking for. But again, we're on average applying to 6 to 10 schools, not 50. So making sure that you have all of the financial aid information sent to the schools that you are applying to, so that they can put together those financial aid award letters, so you can start evaluating them once they are ready. I want to say thank you for coming tonight. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those on the chat now, or throw them in the comment section, or send us an email at findyourdirection@graniteadvance.org. You can also check out our contact us page on our website. That'll help you book an appointment with us if any of those from the beginning were interesting to you, or send us that email, or give us a phone call. We have phones that are monitored every day from 8 to 5. If you want to give us a follow on Instagram and demonstrate interest in Granite Advance, we typically post lots of tips and tricks there, and you can kind of stay in the loop about what's happening and what's coming up. Or if you want to give feedback on this presentation so that we can tailor it for future years and other sessions about what you learned, what you want to learn, what your thoughts are, feel free to use that QR code on the far right over there to send some feedback to us so that we can tailor our contact to you in the future. So I want to say thank you for coming tonight, for watching this, and I hope that you have a really successful college journey and just take some time to enjoy it. All right. Have a nice day.